Pull out your binoculars and secure your alibis. I'm Becca Scott, and today I'm teaching you how to play Deception, Murder in Hong Kong by Grey Fox Games. This social deduction game for 4 to 12 players turns you and your friends into crime scene investigators who must discover both the means of murder and key evidence to find the culprit of a grisly murder in the neon streets of Hong Kong. However, one of these investigators is secretly the murderer, who must deceive everyone to escape a guilty verdict. Let this guy on the crime scene, am I right? Here's how you set it up. Shuffle the blue Means of Murder deck and place 4 of those cards in a face-up row in front of each player. Then shuffle the red Key Evidence deck and place 4 of those cards in a row above. Give each player a badge token. Go through the clue tiles and separate cause of death and the 4 location of crime tiles. Shuffle the remaining tiles into a draw pile face down. Place the bullet markers nearby. Each player needs a randomly dealt and top secret roll card. To create this deck, grab all the non-investigator cards you've chosen to play with and add investigator cards until the deck contains 1 roll for each player. Then shuffle and deal. The roll cards include the Forensic Scientist. The player who receives this roll card will immediately reveal it, turn in their other cards and badge, and act as the game master. They must assist the investigators in identifying the key evidence and means of murder with clues, but cannot, under any circumstances, hint with words, gestures, or incriminating looks. This role is for sure the most fun, but if you screw it up, your friends will never forgive you. The Murderer. This is the guilty party who must constantly attempt to shift blame onto other innocent investigators to conceal their identity. They win if no one succeeds in correctly guessing both their means of murder and key evidence, even if people figure out who they are. The investigators, or everybody else. These players win if they can incriminate the murderer by discovering their means and evidence before the game's end. Each investigator gets just 1 official attempt to solve that crime, and they can use it at any time by turning in their badge token. There are also 2 optional roll cards if you're playing with at least 6 friends. If you can, you're going to want to add these, so get more friends. The Witness. This snooping party knows exactly who the murderer is. What they don't know is how the killer did it or what evidence was left behind. However, the murderer gets 1 chance to guess the identity of the witness at the end of the game. If they guess correctly, they win. So lay low, witness, you're no good to us dead. And finally, the Accomplice. This goon knows everything the murderer knows and must help them get away with the crime, or, in the case that the murderer is caught, help them to correctly guess the witness in order to win the game. Now, time for the crime. The Forensic Scientist, my buddy Bob here, will facilitate this by asking everyone to close their eyes, and then for the murderer and the accomplice to open their eyes. The murderer will look at the 8 cards directly in front of them and silently indicate 1 means of murder and 1 key evidence with their pointiest finger. Then the murderer and accomplice close their eyes again. If you're playing with a witness, now they get to open up their peepers, and the Forensic Scientist will first point to the murderer and then to the accomplice. The gameplay is divided into 3 rounds, each split into evidence collection and presentation. To collect evidence, the Forensic Scientist will place face up for everyone to see the cause of death tile, any one of the 4 location of crime tiles of their choosing, and 4 randomly drawn scene tiles. They must then place the bullet markers 1 at a time to indicate a characteristic on each of the 6 tiles. After the last marker is placed and players have had a quick chance to discuss this information, each player gets 30 uninterrupted seconds to make their case. If no one has correctly solved the crime by the end of the presentation round, the Forensic Scientist gets to remove 1 tile, like that one that was throwing people off track. The new round begins as the Forensic Scientist fills the empty spot with a new scene tile from the top of the tile deck. Then do the whole thing again for another 2 rounds. If at any time an investigator announces they are using their badge to solve the crime, pause any timers. Now, if they're wrong about either one or both elements of the crime, the Forensic Scientist must say no, but nothing else. That investigator is still in the game and can discuss and present, but they're out of guesses. If at any point the murderer is identified correctly, the Forensic Scientist must say yes and jump up and down because investigators win and justice prevails. Almost. The murderer gets one chance to guess the witness if there is one in the game. If they guess correctly, the witness mysteriously dies and the evildoers win. And that's Deception, Murder in Hong Kong. Watch me and a bunch of my friends play this game in celebration of my birthday on Game the Game, and be sure to check back for how to plays of other awesome games right here on Geek and Sundry. I'll see you there.